When gold and silver go up, it's bad for the US dollar. Who's holding the most amount of treasuries? Well, it would be the Fed and the US government, China, and other players. Those are your main suspects. Also, if you think about what's going on in the economy and Basel III and gold being named a tier 3 high quality liquid, I'm sorry, tier 1 high quality liquid asset. It's actually just a high quality liquid asset, not tier 1, but that's what the internet wants to call it. Basically, gold in Basel III, which is a regulation all the world's central banks follow because it's comes out of the BIS, which is the guidance, the policy and guidance for all the central banks.
Gold and silver's rise signals not prosperity, but a warning, a reflection of the US dollar's fading dominance and the silent restructuring of the global monetary order. As central banks and major economies accumulate gold, they are preparing for the next financial system, one backed by tangible assets rather than debt-based fiat promises. The world has crossed a critical threshold. Less than half of global reserves are now held in dollars. The dollar's century-long privilege as the world's reserve currency is eroding, and the financial establishment knows it. RobertKientz, financial analyst and founder of Gold Silver Pros, argues that this shift is no accident. Behind the scenes, governments are using regulatory tools like Basel III and the coming rollout of CBDCs and digital IDs to build a new, centralized system of control. The current suppression of gold and silver prices only buys time for the powerful to prepare and for individuals to wake up. Now, we present the clips from RobertKientz's interview. Before we continue to discuss this, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
If people want to know when gold's going to launch, I'll tell you when it's going to launch. When the powers that be figure out and it reaches its true value. So when the powers that be have got enough control and are ready to implement CBDCs, then they're going to revalue the gold and silver, and then they're going to extinguish the debt, either write it off or use the gold and silver as collateral. What is Judy Shelton out on Twitter saying today? Oh, let's do a gold-backed treasury because I'm a gold bug. No, you want to do a gold-backed treasury because you're trying to use the gold that you stole from people all of these years because you didn't let it trade at its right price, and you let the central banks buy it, suppressed by the commercial banks, to do your dirty work for you so that you can back the treasury so that you can flip us into CBDCs without having a full default. It's not really what we all want to happen. I mean, I know we all cheer when the gold price goes up, but there's a certain point in which it invalidates the status of the dollar. And the rest of the world knows this. The rest of the world knows it because they're de-dollarizing. And as Lynette Zhang pointed out on her show recently, and as I've been pointing out as well, is that now less than 50% of global reserves of any currency is not in the dollar, or less than 50% is in the dollar. So we passed the Maginot line at which the dollar is no longer the dominant currency. It's no longer the world's reserve currency. It's over. That is over, okay? And they know it. And so it's like, you know, I've used this description before in your channel. They're trying to steer the Titanic. They know it's going down. They're trying to steer it through the icebergs and get as many people off the ship. The problem with all of this is they know what's going on. And he's right in his comments. But they can't allow it to completely revalue because the Titanic goes down, it crashes, and we're in serious and deep trouble. And so really, you know, as you and I were talking on the program before, it's a blessing that the price is going down in a way because it allows people to go get more. I wouldn't want to be a seller of it at this point because the U.S. financial system, I mean, hell, the whole global financial system is a train wreck, a dumpster fire with a nuclear bomb, you know, sitting right on top of it, about to go off any minute now. It is a god-awful mess. And when it blows up, a lot of people are going to get hurt. And your only savior is going to be the gold and silver and not CBDCs. And that's what the government wants to go in. And oh, by the way, I'm going to point out, we're going to segue a little bit to CBDCs and digital ID. The main reason I think that the governments of the world do not want to allow the dollar to fail just yet, and that's even including competitors, China, Russia, and the BRICS nations, is one, they hold a lot of treasuries. But two, they're not ready yet either, because the CBDCs, while they're on their way, are still in beta phase and testing phase. And they've been doing this for a long time, but it's not quite ready to implement. And secondly, the digital IDs haven't been fully rolled out. But it's funny that this summer, Aaron, who's with the Brownstone Institute and runs digital, or the Daylight Freedom Foundation, sorry, Aaron Day, came on my program. Is like, Rob, we've all been covering CBDCs. And then over the summer, while we were not looking, The digital IDs, which we thought maybe were ways away, got implemented in 17 countries. In Vietnam, if you don't have a digital ID, you cannot have a job and you don't have access to a bank account. In Mexico, they're requiring you to have all of your biometrics on a government database or to be a citizen, to exist in the country, or you presumably the threat is that you lose access to anything, including, I don't know, the ability to rent an apartment. We don't know what the fallout of that's going to be. In Australia, they're using AI to collect people's identities. The governments of the world want to put us in this digital prison, Danny, and they're not quite ready for that moment where gold is revalued. Because look, the U.S. government, if Bissett and Trump and all the people in the U.S. government really gave a damn about the American people above all else right now, they would have brought the gold to the forefront, revalue the reserves as they've been threatening to do, try to pay off some of this debt and go to a gold-backed currency, or allow gold to compete with their currency, or done something to stabilize this. And they would have been messaging to the U.S. people. They haven't been doing that. What they're doing is they're doing all these meme coins and garbage coins and digital coins to herd people into the digital side of things, while they herd all the gold for themselves, for the government, and they're going to want to put us in this digital prison. That's what's coming. It's in 17 countries around the world. And you know the scariest thing? It's in 11 states. So the real ID license that has been mandated by the U.S. government for some time has been digitized in the background when they're not telling you, and they're going to use it to limit your access to services in 1/5 of the states right now. And the idea is to have the CBDCs and the digital IDs rolled out by 2028 at the latest across the entirety of the United States. Okay, that would be about, 2 years and 2 months from now? Mm-hmm. And probably within the greater part of the world. And it's tyranny, and it's not what we want. And whenever they do finally allow the dollar to crash, and by the way, the entire world is in on this, okay? They're all playing along. All of the political theater you see is kabuki theater. You know that Trump just agreed to a deal with China on trade. If China were serious, they have the U.S. by the nuts. They could have dumped their treasuries. They could have limited rare earths and crashed the U.S. economy anytime they wanted. They're in on the game because they all want to do the CBDCs, and they want to get all the gold out of the system that they can. Okay, that's what's going on. That's the reality of what's going on, and people need to be aware. So I understand that people are going to be really pissed about gold and silver going down. I am too, because it's a crime. But at the end of the day, what it really does is it gives us just that little bit more time, and maybe wakes a few more people up so they can get out of this stupid system and not be captured by these digital IDs, and have a chance at having some level of financial independence, which they're not going to have if the stupid technocrats around the world get their way. And if you look at the associations that Trump has with people like Bill Gates and Peter Thiel, that should tell you where the U.S. government is going with regards to your health freedom, with regards to your financial freedom. And these are going to be major issues going forward. So people need to pay attention to what's going on.
The recent slump in gold and silver prices isn't a natural market correction. It's a calculated event. With the CFTC inactive during the government shutdown, the Big Four banks have taken full advantage, executing aggressive short covering on the COMEX to protect massive derivative positions. This manipulation isn't new. It's a decades-long practice that distorts the actual price of precious metals and hides deeper structural problems in the U.S. financial system. The strategy is simple: suppress gold and silver to maintain confidence in the dollar. This isn't just about profit, it's about control. Gold's reclassification under Basel III as a high-quality liquid asset gives it renewed legitimacy within global banking, to par with currency itself. Yet, instead of transparency, central banks and major institutions quietly accumulate metal, using commercial banks to keep prices artificially low. The result is a market rigged against savers and truth alike, a system protecting its own illusion of stability. Let's get back to the interview.
This is short covering on the COMEX and gold and silver while the regulator CFTC is on vacation and needs a Department of Justice investigation at this point, blatant manipulation. So I've covered manipulation dating back to 2010. I wrote a series of articles on Seeking Alpha. Seeking Alpha is considered mainstream in that it's user-produced content, but it's by a lot of hedge fund managers, analysts, and independent authors who've been studying the markets for a very long time. I got credit on GATA, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, for being one of the first to put out a series on gold and silver manipulation back in 2010. And I did a 5-part series, and the manipulation hasn't stopped. This is a blatant manipulation of the rules of commodity trading in the American markets. It should be, it is a crime, and it should be investigated by the Department of Justice. JP Morgan, as one of the big 4 banks that does this, was fined $920 million a few years ago for openly manipulating both the Treasury and the gold markets. They laughed it off, though, as one of their representatives said, well, we make $1 billion a year in the trade anyway, so they laugh it off. The 4 big banks that do this, as named on the Government Office of the Comptroller of the Currency Report, are Bank of America, Citibank or Citigroup, HSBC, and JP Morgan. And not only do they hold the 4 biggest banks that hold short positions in the metals, they hold the most derivative positions across all derivatives, not just commodities, things like real estate, stocks, all of that kind of stuff. There are 1,000 products traded on COMEX, everything from oil to cattle to hog futures to whatnot, gold and silver. And the 2 largest short positions are almost always gold and silver. You'll see platinum and palladium in there. You'll see sugar in there. You'll see some oil sometimes, but it's dominated by short trading in the metals. And it's not possible for these banks to have as much short position as they have because of position limits, which are not enforced by the CFTC, the regulator. And right now, the CFTC is on vacation. Why? Because of government shutdowns. It's interesting to see how long this government shutdown goes and manipulation of markets. You see manipulation of other markets, but specifically in gold and silver, you've seen this massive slam down. It is short covering. The prices rose very fast in order to protect the big 4 banks' short positions in these markets. There had to be a period of time where they slammed it down. Obviously, they're going to wait until the watchdog, the CFTC, is not on the case and they're not there. But also, I would say, I'd caution people to think that the banks are doing it only for themselves, because they have 2 accounts within this. They have their house accounts, which is for them, and then they have their commercial accounts, which is for the people that hire them to do it. The question is it JP Morgan, HSBC, Citigroup, and Bank of America, and they are doing it in their house accounts, but is it also people that have hired them to do it? And who's hiring them to do it? Who would be the number one entity or group of entities that wouldn't want the dollar to crash just yet? Because this is what this is about. It's about a dollar crash. When gold and silver go up, it's bad for the US dollar. Who's holding the most amount of treasuries? Well, it would be the Fed and the US government, China, and other players. Those are your main suspects. Also, if you think about what's going on in the economy and Basel III and gold being named a tier 1 high quality liquid asset. It's actually just a high quality liquid asset, not tier 1, but that's what the internet wants to call it. Basically, gold in Basel III, which is a regulation all the world's central banks follow, because it's comes out of the BIS, which is the guidance, the policy and guidance for all the central banks. In other words, the BIS calls the shots. And they named gold as one of 3 high quality liquid assets, along with bank stock and guess what? Currency. So gold is equivalent to currency in the eyes of the central bankers. And they're not going to tell you that. But what they want to do is buy it all up and go stick it in their coffers. And then they have the banks short it to allow them to get the prices. And the banks, because the banks are doing this, for their house accounts, they get to make money along the way. Because in all the short covering, they're making all the money. Hence, JP Morgan's admission that they made $1 billion a year years ago in this market, and a $920 million fine was really small potatoes when you look at the grand context of things, because they don't fine them every year. And it also goes back to one more thing. This is a long answer. It also goes back to my interview with the gentleman that used to run the investigations over all of these products for the CFTC, over the CME Group, which trades these markets, the COMEX, the Commodities Exchange in the United States. And my interview with him revealed that they do not have enough people, even when they're being paid and they're actually on their jobs, they don't have enough people to follow this and to enforce it. He admitted it on tape. It's on my channel from a couple of years ago. We recorded that interview at a professional conference, Silver Symposium in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So they don't have the ability to stop it even in normal times. And with the government shut down, it allows the banks to slam. Who they're doing it on behalf of, we don't know, because that data is not published. But this is obviously what it is. And the one thing I want people to understand is This is a derivative-driven market. It's been outlined by people like college professors who have written about it. You know, I've talked about Jerry Markham and his work. He's a lawyer by trade, teaches at FIU, has a long bibliography on the commodities markets. He's documented this has been going on as long as we've had commodity markets dating back to the 1800s, the late 1800s, and how this is an issue. And it's going to continue. And it really pisses people off when it happens because people use this as their savings, as they rightfully should, Danny. And this is where the manipulation hurts people. Let's say you just lost your job and now you need to cash in some gold and silver, where you're losing value on your gold and silver because it's a stupid gambling trade to make the bankers money and to protect the US dollar. And it's not bad enough, Danny, that the US government has diluted the dollar's value by 98, almost 99%. And then that's a huge crime in the first place because nobody wanted a central bank. The way it was voted in was not on the up and up. That Americans have had to suffer the repeated crime of the theft of their labor because of the stupid ass government can't balance their books and has to inflate it away. And then they allow the banks to go in and manipulate on behalf probably of them and other sovereign parties, the markets, so they can keep gold and silver where they want it so it can hide the crime. Okay. This is the most frustrating thing in the world to me because it hurts the American people and they're being doubly hurt. And I'm totally sick and tired of it. I've had enough. You know, I report on it. I report on it. I report on it. Craig Hemke reports on it. You report on it. Guests on your show report on it. And it continues to happen. And we've all just flat out had enough. I've had enough of it. It needs to stop. It's a crime. It needs to stop. And when the DOJ is fining you almost $1 billion, at some point, Congress and the president need to step in, the president with executive action, the Congress with new legislation to put a stop. And I'm going to get off my soapbox, but that's what needs to happen.
The gold and silver markets are not behaving freely. They're being managed, suppressed, and distorted to conceal the fragility of the US dollar. What we're witnessing on the COMEX isn't healthy price discovery. It's a coordinated operation where major banks use paper leverage to control reality. Every time precious metals start to reveal the system's weakness, the same players flood the market with shorts, reset sentiment, and protect the illusion of stability. But as the cracks widen, these actions only expose the desperation behind the curtain. This is not a market functioning under fair regulation. It's a shadow operation guarded by silence. When the CFTC steps away, the manipulation accelerates. And while the public is told that everything is fine, central banks continue to accumulate gold, quietly preparing for what comes next. The truth is, the suppression of precious metals is not just about profit. It's about buying time before the system resets itself. The dollar's dominance is fading, confidence in paper promises is collapsing, and the physical markets are slowly taking back control. Gold and silver remain the only real money in a world drowning in debt and deception. Those who understand this shift aren't cheering for higher prices. They're preparing for what those prices will mean when the revaluation finally comes. Share your thoughts on his analysis in the comment section below. If you find this video informative, please support and turn on notifications to stay informed about our latest videos. See you in the following video. Thanks for watching.